I'm here to teach to you, so I'm your speaker today. First of all, happy Holy Week. Yeah? Woo! Okay. Also, I think a lot of people don't know, and it makes me really sad. Happy Idaho Craft Beer Month. They're fun little stickers running around because there's this wonderful thing that Idaho Tourism and Idaho Brewers Guild and stuff has put on to highlight all of the amazing local breweries that we have. So can we give them all a hand as well? I want to thank Old State Saloon for having me and asking me to do this talk for Idaho Craft Beer Month, but also for Holy Week as a beer geek and a Jesus freak. Seems really fitting. I also thank them for trusting me that I'm well versed in this area because they don't really know. Just kidding. They know that I'm very, very passionate, especially about Belgian beer, and we'll get into that. So I do have to do some housekeeping real quick. I want to make sure that my intentions are extremely ridiculously clear because it has come to my attention that there's some people that are very unhappy that I'm here. And so I want to make it clear why I'm here and just clear that up, okay, and who I am for that matter. And I think a lot of that will come out as you get to know me throughout this talk as well. And for the people that already know me here, by the way, thanks for coming. Awesome. So I'm going to make sure I don't mess this up. I spent a lot of time on it this week. All right. I am not here for politics or any kind of endorsements. I am here to teach about the miracle of beer. And I'm excited about it. All right. The only fight that I do want to pick is with Tanya Harding. We'll discuss that at the end. You'll see. Okay. Before we move on, I do want to make this statement, and I want to make it really, really, really clear. I believe in freedom with my entire being. Okay? We are very blessed to have it here. Thus, I want to specifically thank those who have laid down their lives to make that so. My hope and prayer is that we all may honor their sacrifice with how we conduct our lives, since there is no greater love than what they have given. In that, I also believe that our community is strengthened by its diversity and love for one another, and so are our beers. Thus, may we learn from the monks in, let's take what we believe, work at it with our whole heart, and serve others in love. That's my entire theme, and you'll see it evident throughout the centuries in monastic brewing. All right, moving on. I did want to share our mission statement so that you guys know more about our company. This is a talk that I personally wanted to come give. This isn't like a big company gathering or anything. This is more just because I'm so excited to share the love of beer, like I said. But just so you know who we are, this is our mission statement. We, the people of Bear Island Brewing, dedicate to reflect God's great gift of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness by crafting community through our authentic local small business and genuine quality products. We believe it is our duty and honor to bear fruit by banding together through life's challenges and adventures in Boise and beyond. Bear me. Before I move on, let me tell you a little bit more about our company, and then we'll go into some other stuff. All right. Like I said, I'm Beth, founder of Bear Island Brewing in Boise, West Boise to be exact. We are extremely local. Besides myself, it is my wonderful family, my husband and my parents. Love you guys. Also, I'm very blessed to have amazing staff and community around us. Love you guys. And we've been serving the Treasure Valley for about it'll be 10 and a half years. Woo! I'm getting old, guys. Very blessed to also have this amazing location. I think this is the coolest coincidence, maybe not a coincidence. It's in an old fire station on Liberty Street. Yeah, the heavens opened. And so we own this location. It's really awesome. Has a lot of history. It was old fire station number 6. Please come visit us and see what we're about. It is very welcoming to all and is meant to be a very awesome, safe, comfortable space to gather. All right. Here's a few things you need to know about me. That was the smallest bomb suit they had. I did borrow it. I gave it back. Okay, so don't be reporting me or anything. But that was me inventing some beers back in the day in Virginia Beach where I was stationed. But some basics that you need to know about Beth. Okay, I already said I'm a beer geek and a Jesus freak. Don't apologize for either. I'm originally from Boise, a native, and yay, woo! And before I went into the U.S. Navy, I was a personal trainer and professional boxer. And then once I went into the Navy, I went in to be an explosive ordnance disposal technician. I did make it through and got to be an EOD tech, woohoo, where I met my wonderful husband, Steve. And then I started really getting into craft beer and how awesome it was and how it brought everybody together and just became a huge beer geek. Thus, my husband and I discussed it, and after we served our country, decided to come home and serve our community by starting a brewery. So that's us. On this Sunday, a few things that I need to ask for forgiveness ahead of time. I love Jesus, but I cuss a little. It's called a Navy mouth. I'm working on it, so I'm just going to ask for your grace for that. Also, I'm fairly certain that I have adult ADD. If you would like to have adult ADD, start a business. That's a thing, okay? So I may go off on tangents. I'll come back. I have notes to guide me. That's why I'm going to keep looking down. And then the other thing is when I get a little nervous, I joke a lot. And so I apologize for that. However, I love dad jokes. I will not apologize for that. Okay. Yeah, woo! All right, cool. All right. So in that, now to move on to our talk, please bear with me as we move on. All right. Now to the fun, glorious stuff. I could teach, oh my goodness, for weeks on the amazing history of beer and how it's basically saved the world, but that is not our topic today. So I'm just going to touch on very brief on how it came about and everything. Okay, so originally it came about in the Fertile Crescent is what they call it, which is the area of what is now modern-day Kurdistan, or the Mesopotamia region. It happened right after the Ice Age, okay? So we're looking at 10,000 BC, and you've got these hunter-gatherers running all around, right, and trying to figure out their lives. Sounds similar, right? But they didn't have any kind of community yet, any kind of cultivation, and so as they're running around doing their thing, they're collecting barley, and they're putting it in pots. This is the scientific theory with a lot of proof behind it, that they put it in these pots and then ran off to go kill stuff and gather stuff. And in that, it rains, because that happens. Then the sun hits on these pots filled with barley and water, and wild yeast comes about, and the water starts bubbling. Spontaneous fermentation is what's that called. They don't know that. But they come back, and there's this thing in these pots, and wow, it tastes pretty good. Makes me feel pretty good. So maybe we should stick around and make more of this barley thing and make more of this liquid. So there was a lot of theory in science that the agricultural revolution came about because of barley making bread, but now there's a lot of evidence and refuting that it was actually to make liquid bread or beer. And that's what started the people settling and creating societies, again, communities, or what I would like to say, the first pubs. So that's going to be your first part about how the miracle of beer came about. Another topic I could talk about for a really long time is women as brewers. So women were actually the first brewers. Don't hate on me, guys. The reality is it was a household duty, right? They were called brewsters. And yeah, look it up, man. It's history. Here, I got a book for you. I heard a heckler out there. Here, I'll help you out. Anyway, they were called brewsters, all right? It was an average household duty that everybody made beer. It was a traditional beverage for nutrition. It wasn't, hey, let's get smashed. It was very low in alcohol at that time. It didn't even have hops yet. It was all about just making something that they could drink because, as we all know, don't drink the water, drink the beer. It's what literally kept them alive, especially in the medieval times when we had the plague and all of those kind of things. So back to beer saving the world, right? Well, so since women were making beers, they decided that they needed to advance that more in supporting themselves if they couldn't get married. Or, for instance, there were a lot of women high the plague, that lost their significant other and are widows, and they're not wanted because they're not young virgins, right? That's how it worked back then. So how do I support myself? I'm going to make beer and bread and cheese and all these things and sell them. So the Brewsters did that. Well, it became kind of popular. You guys all like beer? I like beer. It's a thing. So that's how taverns started coming about. Unfortunately, that's how brothels came about. But these women were doing so well and helping themselves that it just advanced, right? Amazingly and very fast. Then, right around the same time, the monks are brewing. Also a household duty. It's what, you have people in the monks' monasteries that are making cheese and bread, and they're working with their livestock. They're working with the fields. Like, it's just keeping the monastery going, right? Well, beer was one of, again, a nutritional beverage that was a normal thing, and so they were doing it too. Well, in order to support the monastery, they started selling it and taking the profits and doing great things with it. I'm not going to go way into monastic brewing because that's the whole talk, so we'll talk about that later, but it started becoming very popular, is what I'm getting at, with women, with monks, with everything, right? So, naturally, the government gets involved. Big brother. In any country, right? There's always a big brother. In this case, big brother's like, whoa. I'm going to need some money here. I'm going to need to have taxes. You need to have a business license. You can't be doing this without a business license. How dare you? Well, women could not hold a business license. They could not hold, they couldn't even pay taxes if they wanted to. They were not allowed to. A male had to do that. So now we enter from women brewing and starting to make it a thing to, hey, we've got to have a male present. So we have brothers and sisters, we have husbands and wives, we have uncles and nieces, whatever it be, and the woman was the brewster and the man was running the business. But as it grew and advancements into it being more of a government oversight and a vocation, women started getting weeded out of it. It was not really a popular thing anymore, and so they decided they didn't want it to be a feminine term, so brewster went to brewer. And that's just what happened. Not complaining, just letting you know history, okay? That's the basic history of how beer started getting its thing going on. Now let's talk about monks. I am not going to pronounce this right because I am English and I do not know another language proficiently, but I'm going to try. Ora e labora, pray and work. Saint Benedict, that was a big motto from 530 AD. And it went from, instead of, hey, just go and pray and stuff, it was like, hey, we need to honor God with how we work with our hands as well. So that's how monks started brewing and doing things like that, because it was, hey, we're not just going to sit and pray all day and do nothing. Like, feet to faith is what I like to call it, right? And so these guys put feet to faith and started doing all that. All right. Gotta move my notes here. Okay. All right. So besides making beer, the monks today and back then make the most amazing cheese. They really, cheese and beer go together. That's, again, another talk. But oh my goodness, so good. And they spend time. That's why their beer is so excellent. They literally do everything unto God, which is the entire point of praying and working. They go together, not separation of work and prayer, absolutely together. And that was a really, really big thing for them. And so they jumped on board, and then other abbeys started jumping on board. Well, now, again, when things become popular, we have to have some kind of regulation, right? Fortunately, this wasn't the government. This was a group of passionate monasteries that wanted to keep the integrity of the beer specifically. And so they invented this thing called the Trappist order, and that's the logo of it. You cannot use this logo. You will be sued to all heck, even by religious people, if you use this, because they want to keep the consistent quality. And really the whole passion behind it is not about money. It's not about business. It's about doing things unto God and doing it in a way that honors Him. And so this is their adherence. They have 3 requirements for you to join the Trappist order. It is a process to join it, and they do have to verify these things. Okay? So number 1 is all products must be made within the immediate surroundings of the abbey, of the monastery. okay? Number one. Number two, production must be carried out under the supervision of the monks or nuns. Profits, number three, should be intended for the needs of the monastic community, for purposes of solidarity within the Trappist order, or for development projects and charitable works. They're very strict about these things. You alter in any of them, you now are done and you're not a Trappist, okay? So like I said, extremely strict. All right. So I wanted to share with you guys those in the order. The neat part about doing this talk is I have been to Belgium with my family, and it was a long time ago. It was right before we started this brewery, which, again, we'll talk about later. But I got to go to some of these breweries, and I can't wait to go to more. Neat bucket list item and be able to check them all off. But some of them have actually lost their Trappist signal because they can't keep up with those three strict adherences because they got too big, or they just decided to sell, or their monks left, or whatever, right? But there's some ones on here I didn't even know because they're also newer. So it was fun to do this research and figure out who they are. Here's all the names of them. Very specifically, there are 10 different monasteries that are actually authentic Trappist beer using that symbol. 5 are in Belgium, 2 are in the Netherlands, and 1 is in Austria, 1 is in England, and 1 is in France. Some fun facts that you may not know about Trappist breweries that I also stumbled upon while preparing this. There were 6 in Belgium, and I do recall, and my family remember too, we drank some of this beer and it was excellent. Achel, A-C-H-E-L, was a Trappist brewery, but 2 of the monks, the last 2 that were overseeing everything, moved to Westmalle Brewing, or Westmalle Monastery. And because of that, and the growth of it, they were not technically a Trappist anymore. And so they were stripped of their title. They still make great beer. I'm not saying you shouldn't drink it. I'm not saying that you have to have it blessed only to drink it, by monks. But that is a very strong adherence that they have. And so Achel is still there. It's great. But these are the ones on this list that if you are going to make it part of your bucket list, those are the ones right there. Take a picture. All right. Another thing that you could know about Trappist breweries, Chimay. I have that glass somewhere. We're around. Boop. Chimay, which is one of the largest ones. You can get it at Albertsons here, by the way. Awesome. Awesome beer. One of my favorites is their Chimay Blue. But it's one of the most widely known, but it was also the first to sell beer away from its door, first to bottle, and first to bear the Trappist mark. Even though they're not the ones who invented it. You know who invented it? La Trappe, which is also up there, hence Trappist. There may be a little bit of trying to show off there. I don't know. I won't accuse the monks. That's a bad idea. All right. So the other thing that you also might not know is that, really fun fact to me, Chimay still to date takes all of its water from its well. Talk about purity. Okay? But there was a point that they were trying to keep up with their most popular beer, Chimay White, which is a triple. And so in order to do that and keep under the adherence of being under monks and under a monastery, they actually shipped their water to La Trappe in the Netherlands to have them help make Chimay White. But that's how serious they were about quality. Could you imagine what our breweries would be like if we were that serious about quality? I'm not going to say we're not serious, but I have not shipped water even across the street, let alone to the Netherlands. And I won't require that of my brewer. I want her to hear that. Okay. Another fun fact, Trappist breweries defended their mark constantly. I told you what a serious deal is to it. They're willing to go to court, and they did. From the 1940s to 1960s, back and forth, they go to court. But in 1962, in a Ghent court, it declared that breweries that were not officially a part of the Trappist order could not bear the mark. The International Trappist Association later created the authentic Trappist logo that you see here and maintains the standards to accept breweries thereof. So if you want to look it up, they actually have a whole website. That's how I was able to verify who is currently a Trappist. All right, on we go. Now we get to talk about all the sinners. P.S. I'm a sinner. We all aren't perfect. But, there's a lot of other breweries in Belgium. Oh my goodness, holy breweries everywhere. And that's one thing I love about it so much. It's like beer mecca. But the thing is that not all of them are monasteries, right? But there is, and you can kind of see it. Let's see if my little mouse will work. Here we go. This guy right here is actually the abbey order. It's not Trappist, but you do still have to be an abbey, and they have some requirements too. They are not near as strict, but you do have to be a monastery, be an abbey to use that mark. So sinners, saints, and everything in between. Once it was known, back to things getting popular, it's a thing that happens. It's like, ooh, money, right? And so you have these breweries starting to pop up. We don't have to be monks. We could make money. Who cares about our community? Who cares about this? And so let's just make money. Well, I'm not even say they had evil intentions. I'm an entrepreneur. An entrepreneurship spirit is a wonderful thing. And so these places pop up. But some of them decided to own that they were not monks and name them things like Lucifer. Another fun fact, there was a point where Lucifer went bankrupt, so he fell. There may be some history with that since Lucifer fell from heaven. I thought that was very funny. There's a lot of articles about it on the internet. It's pretty funny, so if you want to look it up. But then they got rebought by a larger brand and have continued today. You will see it in Belgium. We saw it. The larger one that you can also get here and that actually makes amazing beer is Duvel, which I had some Catholics reach out to me really upset because they didn't know that Duvel means devil. Also, if you really like hot sauce, so does Diablo. But the reality is yeah, let's laugh about that for a second. Anyway, the thing is that most of these people are not evil. They're just trying to run a business, and they may not adhere to the monk tradition of making beer, but I will still easily say that the Belgian beers over there have a level of quality that if you haven't been there, you have not tasted. So I would encourage that. I would encourage you not to boycott Duvel. In fact, let's talk about how Duvel actually got its name. Another fun fact. Duvel specifically achieved its name because they made a beer called Victory Ale right after World War I. But, as legend has it, in 1923, an enthusiast referred to the beer as a real devil because it was light. It looked like it was light, but it kicked his butt because it was higher in alcohol, and a lot of the beers then were a lot lighter. And so because of that, he called it a real devil, and it stuck. That's why it's called Duvel. Not because they're trying to rebel, not because they're saying screw monks, but just because of a patron. You got to watch out for those patrons. They name beers. I have one that is named by one that's sitting here, and I'm going to talk about it later. So another thing, not just monks, the ladies are coming back around, ladies and gentlemen. This is Maradret Abbey in Belgium. When the nuns of Maradret Abbey were struggling to scrape together funds for badly needed renovations of their monastery, they decided, hey, let's take a page from what the monks did. Let's go ahead and do this and start beer brewing to support our monastery. So they did. And this is a quote from Sister Gertrude. I don't know if that's her there. It's just a really cool picture from the article I got. Okay. It's beer, referring to beer. It's good for one's health. Somebody biblical said it's good for one's health, just saying. It aids digestion. Probiotics? Sweet. All the sisters like the beer. We are in Belgium, after all. Adding that the nuns also allow themselves one bottle each on Sundays. So on God's holy day on Sabbath, the ladies are drinking beer. Yeah. Go Brewsters, right? All right. This is going to... Feel free to check out this slide for a second. I tried to find one not too crazy. This is not crazy. So a lot of us have heard and seen that like Guinness has its own glass. Stella Artois has its own glass. I always found that cool, right? Like we have our own glass at Bear Island, but at our tap room, not everywhere. The way it works in Belgium, and I found it fascinating, it was like walking into a museum when you went to a Belgian beer bar, not just the brewery. Every single brewery has its own glass. Just amazing to me. They design their own. Don't break them. There's Chimay. That's my cute little cubby there. Yeah, all of them, very, very proud to have their own glass, to emulate their brewery. Look at all the different ones. Oh my gosh, look at this one right here. This is called Quack. No, not like me. KWAK. It's a brewery. Yeah. They serve it on this cool little wood thing. I had one of those in Dubai, at a Belgian beer bar in Dubai when I was on deployment. I find it just so fascinating how these things make around. But you can literally, in Belgium, lose the opportunity to carry that person's beer, that brewery's beer, if you don't use their glass. So it really is like walking into a museum of glassware when you go to these beer bars that carry all these Belgians, because they have to have all of the glassware. It's just fascinating, and it really does enhance the experience. And there is a whole nother topic I could teach on the science of glassware as well. These guys take it pretty seriously. Back to being extremely reverent about how they represent their quality of beer. They do that in their glassware. Okay, this slide I'm excited about. This was super fun to go through because it's been a minute. We went to Belgium in, 2000, Mom, Dad, help me out, 13? 14? 13, right before we started the brewery, because we started in the end of 2013. That's right. We went in July of 2013 to Europe, and Belgium was a huge stop. Wow, guys, if you really want to feel the amazing, not only reverence of beer, but just it's a whole different thing. The community of beer, what it represents, it literally spreads hope. It's the coolest beverage ever, and I already believe in it, but we do not understand here in America like they do over there. It is just the coolest thing. Also, another topic, Belgian waffles. We don't do those right here. Oh my goodness, they're so good over there. You literally have a Belgian beer in one hand and a Belgian waffle about that big in one other hand. Oh my goodness, please go experience it. But I kind of want to go through some of these pictures because the experience is transformed me. I do have another confession to make. It is Sunday. I should never tell anyone this, but I'm doing it. Here I am getting ready to start a brewery. I'm so excited about beer, but I didn't like Belgian beer. I know! Oh my goodness, I did not like Belgian beer because I had never had one that was phenomenal and from Belgium. I'd had some from American breweries who had never been to Belgium, didn't have the reverence for it, did not taste like a real Belgian beer. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I'm starting a brewery and I'm going to brewery Mecca, and I don't like Belgian beer. Yeah, no, my mind was changed real quick. Now it's absolutely one of my favorites. It became one of my favorites just after this trip. So it really is transformative to go to Belgium. If you are going to save for one trip anywhere, please go to Belgium if you love beer or if you want to love it. It is phenomenal. I can't even explain all the styles. Again, we don't have time. But we are going to go over some of these pictures right here. I'll just go left to right, or at least on my screen. Yeah, left to right on you. All right. This is me and my lovely husband, Steve. In my beer, if you want to know what my shirt says, it says beer, it's what's for dinner. I like cool beer shirts, it's a thing. Delirium is a fantastic pub. They actually held, I haven't been back, I'm going back soon, but they actually held the Guinness Book of World Records for the most beers in one establishment. They had 3 floors. They literally had, it was like the Bible of beer. It was this book that was so thick to go through, and they had descriptions of all of them and the alcohol content, where they came from, and it was kind of hard to choose. You know, I get overwhelmed when people have, how many taps do you have, Mark? 20. I get overwhelmed when there's 20 taps. What do you do when there's like hundreds? And Belgian fermented bottles, it was just so fabulous. So we had a blast there. That's one of my favorite pictures. When Steve and I do go back, we're going to retake it. So I'm going to have to buy a new shirt that actually fits, that's yellow and says beer on it. I've got a few in my Amazon cart. We'll see what happens. Then this picture right here actually parallels this picture over here with my folks. That was actually the first place we stopped in Bruges, Belgium, which is probably my favorite place on the planet. Easily, if I could only pick one place to go back to, it would be Bruges. Just so historical and so amazing. But we got to sit in this beautiful cafe and order our first Belgian beers arriving there, and it was just phenomenal. I can't even explain the experience. It was truly just miraculous, if you will. Okay? And so, I recommend it highly. Obviously, you see some beautiful work. We did get to go to a lot of the monasteries. One of the things I wanted to do as a huge beer geek was go to some of these monasteries. And so the primary one that we went to, and that is a very unique experience, make reservations ahead of time, my mom will tell you, is Chimay. So these pictures right here are Chimay. Obviously, this one says it, but this right here is the actual monastery in the sanctuary, which has amazing acoustics. My mom sang a beautiful hymn. It was very, very moving. I found it interesting. They will not let you into the brewery. In fact, most of these monasteries that make beer will not let you into the brewery, but they'll let you into the monastery. And I'm like, that's interesting. I did try to sneak in. I know, I shouldn't have. I did try, though. It didn't work. But the neatest thing about Chimay, and one of the reasons I recommend it, is very, very, very southern, by the way. So it is a trip. Rent a car. Be careful driving on the wrong side of the road and all that. But Chimay has an 8-room hotel right above the cool little tap room in the middle of this tiny little town called Chimay that has barley and hops and livestock. And it's just the most amazing, takes you completely out of our world and is just transformative in showing you the agriculture and, again, the reverence about all the things that they do and do well. So we couldn't see the brewery, but they did let us see, there's a beautiful museum on site right next to their tap room that you can go in and see, and it has all the videos, and it has a lot of relics, and it has pieces of equipment, and that was actually really, really cool. And I don't want to interrupt the monks in brewing, so while I didn't get to sneak in, maybe that was for the best. I will say that it is pretty interesting, never experienced anything like this either, is they barely speak English, so learn some French or Dutch before you go. Especially French, since it's close to the French border, that they have the most wonderful breakfasts and cheese pairings with their beer. Back to that. They make their cheese on site and pair them with each beer. That was really cool, but the weirdest feeling was when it was like, hey, tap room's closed, go up to your rooms or get out, right? They have an wrought iron gate that they shut as you go up to your rooms. Like, you're not coming back down here. Lock. And it was, I kind of felt locked in. It was kind of like back to my fighting days when I got locked in the cage, when, cage fighting. But no, it was pretty interesting that they take the whole thing very, very seriously. Again, very, very reverent. Very big on serving. We did not speak that language very well, but they were sure kind to us and made sure that we got the beer, the cheese, the experience. The Chimay experience would be one of my number ones to recommend if you ever get to go to Belgium. Okay, this sweet little guy right here, Fidel. Okay, Fidel, like fidelity. It actually means, hang on, I literally looked it up to make sure. Maybe. It means faithfulness or loyalty. That's what Fidel means. So, talk about true. Fidel, we took a picture of, it's a little fuzzy because we were on one of those cool canal tours through Bruges. Fidel, every single day, is looking out and greeting the people on the canal tours. Talk about faithfulness and loyalty, right? Sadly, he's not with us anymore. Dogs should live forever. I think dog is backwards for God because it's the best example of unconditional love we have on this planet. And so I'm sad to hear that he's gone, but I hope when we go back, they have another wonderful lab sitting there being faithful as well. But it is a wonderful part of the experience. This is the center of Bruges right here with the cool little houses and buildings that are so unique to it. And then, some monasteries. Oh, I clicked. It's time to move on, apparently. All right, so enough about our wonderful trip. Please put it on your bucket list. All right, let's see here. Oh. We get to talk about beer specifically now. This is one part I love to do. If you don't know me, you will. I love to talk about beer. This one that I'm drinking right here, actually, is our example of what's called a Belgian Sinkel or Enkel. It's a monk beer. Other things that people have called it is Patter's beer or table beer. It is very specifically meant to be one of the lightest options so that the monks can still perform their duties and be pure and pray and all those things, serve other people without, falling over drunk. Again, sinners and saints, right? They don't care. Like, here you go, here's the big beers, but they themselves want to keep themselves pure, and I find that really cool. I tend to try to drink some of those lighter ones because I'm little, and I don't want to get any fights with anybody. I try to be really nice, So yeah, the monk beer is called the Single. Now, the way they do all their beers, really, especially in Belgium, is in the most popular single, double, triple, quad, or double, triple, all fancy sounding. But basically, it just means higher strength, okay? Singles are more traditionally lighter, like this, whereas doubles and quads are going to be darker, like Belgian darks, and have a lot more malt characteristic and often have dark candy sugars used when they brew. The Tripel would be a lot like the single, but obviously much higher in strength. Be careful with those. They can seem really deceiving. I definitely had a nice steady buzz going on in Belgium. Very happy, very much praising God for the beer that I had. I'm always happy. That's not true. You're being too nice to me, but I attempt to be. Other example of Belgian styles, wit, which means wheat, and golden strong, which is similar to a triple, but a little bit thicker, more malt base, a little more golden. Lambic, quick, didn't have a picture of it, but Cantillon is one of the famous breweries in the middle of Brussels. And they actually invented the lambic, and they showed us this thing called a cold ship. So it's where the beer is pumped up into this huge thing. It looks like a massive bathtub, like a bathhouse or something. And then they open the ceiling and let the natural biodome affect the beer. Back in the day, they didn't understand the miracle of beer was called fermentation, and there was an awesome science to it, and this wonderful little thing called the brewer's yeast that eats sugar and burps CO2 and poops alcohol. I know, we don't poop alcohol. I wish we did. Yeah, we're not going to discuss what we poop. We'll go back to beer now. Basically, they understood that if they exposed the beer to the air and the sludge that they got, yeast, if they moved it to the next thing and prayed, they would have another miracle of beer. And so that's a big part of the history of beer in multiple cultures, in England and everywhere, but especially when they're inventing these, what we would call wild beers, because it uses wild yeast in the air. Today we use ones that are very careful so that they don't come out sour. We use labs. We use very clean techniques. We make sure that we use stainless steel and all of that to keep everything very, very clean. So do the monks. But specifically, a lambic is a natural fermented sour. They will let them age for 2 years at least. That's usually the base of the lambic. And the other cool thing about a lambic is it's usually fruited. My favorite is framboise, which means raspberry. There was some other ones like cric, that is like sour cherry. And so, yeah, sours, absolutely. Some of the best sours in the world came from Belgium, from Brussels, and the invention of the lambic. Saison, that's called a farmhouse beer. Again, I could teach lessons on each one of these beers, so I don't want to go too crazy here. But what's neat about that is also pretty spontaneously fermented, but they would do them at a hotter temperature on purpose during the summer in farmhouses. And so they came out really unique. Until you've had one, I don't even know how to describe it. Some people describe it as horse blanket. I would prefer not to use that as a descriptor, but honestly, like, saisons are amazing. One of the most famous ones in the world is Saison du Pont. If you want to try one, I think you can get it at the fancy Albertsons. I know you can get it at the Co-op. Belgian Pale, and this is just some of them. There is a long list of Belgian ones, but these are the ones that are the most famous. So now let's move on to what ones are ours. All right, I already talked about the wit. This is where and he's in the audience. One of our customers, as I was trying to come up with that, I was like, what do I name our Belgian wit? It's got to be like something cool, like witty banter, right? And he was like, how about you name it, Does a Bear Wit in the Woods? And I was like, genius! I bought him some beer. I still do sometimes, like, for royalties. But yeah, I love the community of beer, and that when people chime in and they take pride in what you're doing, and what a fun name. There are some places that have had it on their menu, and they do not call it that. It's just Bear Island Wit. But come on, let's have some fun. Do bears wit in the woods? I'm going to say yes. I think that they do. I think there's probably definitive proof of that. Fun fact on the side, tangent, my uncle's a bear hunter, and he would be able to tell you that they wit in the woods. All right, moving on to Tater Tot. This is the one I'm drinking right now. The single, or the monk beer. This is 4%. It's nice and light. It has amazing notes from the Belgian yeast. Belgian yeast is very specific to give natural esters, is what they're called, which some people perceive as clove and banana. Hefeweizens in Germany do the same thing, just a little different. This one specifically has a hint of pear in it. Very, very drinkable. I'm going to take a break real quick and have a sip because I'm starting to get thirsty talking about this. Cheers. Oh, God bless it. Okay. Double. We don't have this one on tap here, but we do have it at Bear Island, and it is one that we make every year. Um, this was a fun one to name because we worked with a local brewer who actually came from, he was the head brewer at Payette, and then he went on to Mother Earth, but he actually came from Brasserie St. James in Reno, Nevada, which was an all Belgian beer bar, and they brewed only Belgian beers. And I thought that was amazing. So this guy had a lot of experience on brewing Belgian beers, and then we had experience from being to Belgium, and so we put our powers together. For those of you who don't know, we started our brewery in our 2-car garage. We wanted to do it all bootstrapped, debt-free. So we literally, out of our 2-car garage, made about 12,000 gallons a year. And I ran around and delivered kegs and developed relationships with local establishments like this. And just, it was so amazing to see it grow. But we decided, like, why not have a beer that pays ode to our history, which is our double-car garage. So Double Car Garage came along. That was our first Belgian beer that we made. And like I said, you can try that one at Bear Island. Triple Tater. This one was a fun collab as well. We used, with a local bar, and we used 3 kinds of Idaho potatoes, hence Triple Tater. I did have people right after I released it, because everybody has to, tell me what I do wrong, that I spelled triple wrong. No, Tripel is the Belgian style, but yes, we used 3 kinds of Idaho potatoes, so it was supposed to be a play on words. I thought I was being clever. Apparently, I didn't communicate it very well. Yeah, so Triple Tater. That one is the Belgian Tripel. Oh, see, they just needed to come to my talk. I should have started these sooner. Anyway, that one's on top. It's beautiful. Again, beware. You're starting to get in that 8%. Very drinkable, just like this. This is actually Triple Tater Light, right? And so just be careful. Beware. Be pure. And then this one, this is where we're going to have a little bit of fun. Okay, I'm going to sit down for a second here. Bare Knuckle Boxer. This one came about in such a neat way. My head brewer, is just such a lovely person, and she won a team member competition that we had, where whoever won got to invent whatever beer they wanted. And this is when she was newer to us too. So at that point it was just like, hey, here's the beers, learn them, let's brew them, and then let's talk about ones that you want to add to the arsenal. But she was like, hey, I won. I'm doing a Belgian strong. Okay, that's one of Beth's favorite styles, like Chimay Blue, and many others that I've had that are excellent. But so she chose to make it. It was kind of a kindness to me, but also she loves that style too. But then she told me she woke up in a cold sweat and was like, oh, Bare Knuckle Boxer, that's what we have to name it. We're going to make it an ode to Beth because she loves Belgian beer so much and has been there and literally like beer evangelizes it, right? And so the reason she named it that, I did disclose earlier that I was a professional boxer when I was younger, before I went in the Navy here in Idaho. But what a lot of people don't know, back to fun facts, when I was 19 years old, I was supposed to fight Tanya Harding at the Bank of America Center as a professional boxer in the ring. It was all over the news and stuff. And I'm 40, so that was a minute ago. But yeah, I got my cute little 15 minutes of fame, right? And gosh, what's it called now? CenturyLink Arena, where the Steelheads play. And so it was kind of a big deal. I'm 19. I just want to fight. It was really fun. They pay you to hit people. It was awesome, right? But it was really hard to get fights because I was the only female in Idaho that was doing it. And you do have to fight female, and they do have to be your weight class. So talk about narrowing down my opponents, right, to nobody. So I just wanted to fight. I trained my butt off all the time. I abstained from things like this because they were calories. I trained 3 days. I could not wait. And here I get my big break. I get to fight Tanya Harding, the bad girl herself. Also, I'm a fan of ice skating a little bit from when I was a young kid. So I was like, Nancy Kerrigan. Anyway, we won't get into that. But I really was so excited to fight her. I'd never been on camera before. I was extremely awkward. You think I'm awkward now? Oof, you should see me when I was 19. So I just hit the bag a lot in front of the camera, and it was great. And I have witnesses in this crowd even that were there at the press conference where she was very proud to say, I'm going to give this cute little spunky girl a chance, and I'm going to beat her ass in front of everyone. Oh, see, there's a cuss word, sorry. A donkey's an ass. Okay, anyway. She said that, and I was ready. Oh, I was ready. And I was so excited, and I was like, yo, okay, bro, we're going to see how this goes. Well, in my contract, I was allowed to fight other fights before this one. up to 2 weeks in advance, in case you get a concussion or anything. Like, they're being responsible about that. They don't want you going fight to fight and not remembering your name, right? And so 3 weeks before the fight, well within my contract, I was asked by my coach if I wanted to go fight. There are such thing as dumb questions. That's like, do you want a beer? So I said yes. It was at the Emerald Queen Casino in Tacoma, Washington. They literally had to walk me around in the winter to the fight because I couldn't go through the casino floor because I was 19. I'll never forget that. I'm all warmed up and now I'm cold. Anyway, I fought a girl who was about 6 foot. I am 5'2". I knocked her out of the ring. She got back up. I just maintained she had bad footwork. But, the crowd went nuts. It was like a thing. I won by unanimous decision. It was a great fight. It was very fun to get my feet wet as a pro that way. And then Tanya Harding's coach called my coach the next day and said, F you, although he said the whole thing. And click. And so within a couple days, there went my opportunity to fight Tanya Harding. I know. I felt so bad. Like, I don't have a lot of regrets in life because I try to just learn from stuff, but that was one that was literally just ripped from me because I was just doing what I loved. And I was super bummed. I was literally supposed to be on the Best Damn Sports Show. I had an interview lined up for after I beat her because I was going to beat her. But hence, this whole history is why my brewer decided to name it that. I will say, like I said earlier, the only fight that I would love to pick is with Tanya Harding. So since I'm on TV or whatever you call this thing, right? I am not very good at technological things. Hey, Tanya, why don't we do it for charity? Now I'm a disabled veteran. My whole right side does not work well, and this was my humdinger, right? So let's fight for charity. Bring it on, baby. My offer still stands from when I was 19. I know you can do it.
I'll just add, Tanya, you really need to.
Hey, I just think doing it for charity would be a wonderful thing, like we do a lot of things for charity with our brewery. We love helping our community, and like, what better way to round up something that should have happened? So, just saying. Amen. Hashtag Tanya Harding. I, Tanya. Yeah. Okay, now we can move on. Enough about me. Let's get back to beer. Okay, it is hard to get a lot of great Belgian breweries here, Belgian breweries bottles and things here. You can. I highly recommend, if you want to taste some from Belgium, you go to the Co-op, the fancy Albertsons, and some of the cool bottle shops we have, like Brewers Haven and Homebrew Stuff and some of those. I'm not sure about Whole Foods, maybe, but really shop local, right? So I would really encourage you guys to try to explore in some of the Belgians. I will say the ones out of bottles, like the ones that I showed you earlier from Chimay and all that, are bottle conditioned. So even though they make the voyage from Belgium, they're usually very, very good still. I still recommend you obviously treat them well and keep them in refrigeration. But so if you can't find those, I will say we have some amazing breweries in this country. I'm sure there's more. These are just some of mine that I know automatically that I think of when I think of, these guys know Belgian beer. I put my logo on there. I'm getting louder. I'm already loud. Turn me down. I'm already excited. I'm talking about beer. Okay, good. Okay. Sorry for yelling at you. Forgive me again. I'm proud that we put our brand up there because we really do specialize. I have 5 Belgian beers on tap. That's very rare, and especially in America where it's like a million IPAs. I'm not saying we don't make a good IPA. We do. That's a whole nother talk too. But these other ones have been doing it for a minute. I actually got to meet the one to the right of my logo, Monkless Brewing. I love what they say. It's like monk brewing without the monks. It's, they're being honest about who they are, but they love, and they also have a lot of reverence for what those styles are. They're excellent. They're out of Bend, Oregon. I actually got to go to Bend for my first time when I got back from the military and had started this brewery, and we ran off to Bend for my birthday in November. What I didn't know is that happened to be Bend Brewfest. And so I got to meet them their first year and first time they were at Bend Brewfest, and they were in a little teeny garage warehouse thing too. So I just love that they've grown and they've done so well with Belgian beers in a world that's just filled with IPAs. So definitely check them out. You can get them in the store and stuff too. Usually most of these places, like I said, bottle shops. Brewery Omegang, they're out of New York. They have done a lot of things. They actually made a Game of Thrones beer. That's another fun fact. But it was a Belgian style, and we're famous for it. So really owed to them that they could have, again, made an IPA or a pale ale or something else that's more Americanized. They really wanted to showcase the history of Belgian beer, so I respect them for that. You can get them, but they're a little hard to find. Russian River Brewing, if you don't know who they are, man, they had like the #1 IPA in the country for a long time, but they also, a lot of people don't realize that they do a lot of sours and Belgian-aged beers and barrel-aged beers, and they're very, very excellent. We've had the opportunity to visit them. They have a couple locations. Santa Rosa is their main one. But they started with a very huge passion for beer. From what I read, the owner also stayed at Chimay. And I'm like, ooh, maybe there's something to that. And then Allagash, that is one that I have tried. People have brought beers back from me. We cannot get them here in Idaho yet. Their beers are, their #1 beer, their flagship is Allagash White. And it is definitely more of a Belgian style. I forget the percentage on it, so I can't tell you if it's a single or a triple, but it's in that realm, and it's a wonderful, wonderful beer. Anytime I see it anywhere when I travel, done. Absolutely drinking it. That is one on my bucket list to visit in the United States. It's in Portland, Maine. I also hear it's beautiful there. I want to go in the fall and see Allagash and Maine Brewing Company. That's one of my things I just can't wait to do someday. So that would be a recommendation. New Belgian Brewing, if you didn't know that they make Belgian beers, it's in the title. The cool thing that not a lot of people know, and I actually wish I would have had a picture of it here because I have a picture of me in front of their bar in Bruges. The owner, husband and wife, the husband, Jeff, went to Belgium in Bruges when he was young on his bike and was traveling around Belgium on his bike. And bicycle, not motorcycle. I respect those too, but a little bit more effort to go around Belgium on your bicycle. Which made him thirsty, right? So he's drinking beer. Well, he went to this amazing bar called Bertage. I may be butchering that again, very American. Got to work on my languages. But it's an awesome, teeny little beer bar. We had to find it. It's like on this little alleyway off of the main center of Bruges, city center, and it was fabulous. And the love for beer there is contagious. And it's the amount of beers that they have is like, I wish I could drink all of them and not die. It was amazing. So Jeff was inspired, I see why, and decided to make his entire brewing company off of making new Belgian beers for America and bringing it to America and giving tastes of them. He actually made one that was an amazing Belgian that he had hoped would be his flagship, and then it didn't. Fat Tire became his flagship. Still good beer, but not as Belgian-y. So he was really disappointed by that. There's a lot of articles where he talks about that. You know, sometimes you don't get to choose what people love, even though you love it. But you know, they've done really, really well. I know they're a lot bigger, and that they ended up selling to Sapporo, I think is what I heard. Kieran Sapporo. But they still have amazing employees, and they still, especially if you go to the brewery in Fort Collins or Asheville, they have, oh my goodness, so many barrels and so many sours and Belgian styles, and they just have committed to, no matter what, they're still going to do that. And I've really enjoyed. You can get their triple in Winco in a 6-pack, and it's good. I drank some last week while I was making this up this week with my friend. Yeah, you know, she needed to be encouraged. I needed to be encouraged. I was planning the stock. I was like, hey, let's drink a triple. So we drank one from New Belgium. Avery Brewing Company is out of Boulder, Colorado. They make one called Avery White. It's also very, very, very good. I think we can get it here now. It's hard. We're small in Idaho. We're getting bigger, and so now people are throwing stuff our way. But that's a great one if you see their logo as well, that I highly suggest. You can experience Belgium here, but I still implore you, go to Belgium. All right. I'm going to take questions now. I have a nice little way to wrap up after this, but before I take questions, I did want to just show you these cool references to this talk that I gave today. Obviously, like, there were some Bible verses, and there will be more, and so the Holy Bible was involved is the reference. The Legend of the Monk and the Merchant, oh my goodness, one of my favorite books about, you don't have to be a monk to do something with your work unto God, to pray and work, just like from the beginning, okay? This book's really neat. It's actually required by Dave Ramsey, the financial guru. If you want to work there, within 30 days, you have to read this book. And it's great. It's very encouraging about successful living and realizing that it's not all about you, and that you can do amazing things for the community and things even if you're not a monk. Okay? Brew Like a Monk. This one's going to be a lot more heady. I'm starting to take my display apart here. Sorry. This one's going to be a lot more heady if you are a big beer geek and you want to learn more about how Belgians brew and the specifics of their gravities, which is sugar, and alcohol, and the taxes, and there's even recipes in here. Like, I'm like, ooh, I want to make Chimay Blue. So it's a really fun, geeky one if you're a big beer geek, or if you like to homebrew, or if you're interested in it. That's an awesome one, too. The Beer Drinker's Guide to God is hilarious. It's by Father William B. Miller, who owns Padres in Texas, I think it is. Oh my goodness, hilarious book. I could not put it down. That guy has traveled all over the world and been inspired by beer as well. He loves people as a Catholic priest, but man, he loves beer. Oh my goodness, he loves beer. He also believes it's reverent. So if you enjoyed this talk today and my take on beer, I would highly recommend that book. I watched this last night just to make sure I was ready to go for this talk, and also just because it's inspiring. There is a wonderful documentary with facts from the Discovery Channel called How Beer Saved the World. I found it on Amazon for like $2 to buy it, not rent it. And oh my goodness, it is hilarious, first of all, but it talks about some of these facts that I've already brought up. It talks literally about how beer has saved the world multiple times, and not just in the plague when you couldn't drink water. It's amazing the things that were discovered because of beer and because of people wanting to drink it, and again, communities and families and all that continued because of beer. So I recommend that one. The Oxford Companion to Beer. I do not suggest reading this front to back. I have not. But this is basically the encyclopedia of beer. Like, insane. I used it when I wrote a paper at Boise State about how beer saved the world. This was one of my major references. If you don't want this, because it's not very cheap of a book and things get updated, there's an app for that. I think it's like $11 and then you update for free. But it's neat. It talks about different kinds of hops. It talks about different regions. It has literally everything A to Z beer. So that's a really neat reference manual if you care about that. And then the one that I require everyone that works for me to read. Tasting beer is really awesome because it has pictures. No, that's not the only reason. No, it's actually really neat because it goes through all these things that we just kind of discussed. It goes through the history of beer. It goes through styles. It goes through glassware. It goes through draft. It teaches you how to present it. It talks about pairing beer with food. It's really, if you want to be a real beer geek, this is the all-in-one book, and that's why I require it. This is also the book that a lot of people recommend as a supplement if you are trying to take the Cicerone exam. Now, if you don't know what the Cicerone is, just real quick, everybody's heard what sommelier is in wine. It's like the fancy person that knows their stuff, right, and has an amazing palate and has taken these exams to prove that they know what they're talking about, okay? A beer sommelier is called a Cicerone. It's something that's been trademarked. There's some other things out there you can take too, but that seems to be the one that's prestigious that people like to put on their business cards. In order to study for that exam, this is what they recommend. So for me, whether you want to be a bigger beer geek or you just want to know a little bit, this one is so fun as a reference. All right, so now I'm going to go to questions before I read my conclusion. Anybody? Oh, hello.
I know you have youth on your side, but why are you fat?
Whoa, thank you. They say not to trust a brewer that's not fat. I'm actually the fattest I've ever been, so thank you. But thank you for saying I'm not. I was a personal trainer, and I was a professional athlete, and then in the military, it was elite. Like, I didn't talk a lot about the service of what we did, but it was bomb squad. And you run around with a bunch of badasses and like, try to make terrorists not have people blow up, right? So, jumping out of planes, diving in the ocean, like, you have to be fit. And so, basically, my whole life has been fitness. Until now. Now I'm like, I used to blow stuff up. Now I just brew stuff up. Or drink stuff, yeah. So it's actually been kind of a challenge running a business. I'm very, very busy. I'm very, very tired. But I love what I do more than anything else. I love being a beer evangelist. But yeah, it is a challenge to like, okay, come on, Beth, go into the gym and stuff. I do though, and I'm very careful about what I drink. For instance, there's carbs in this, so I actually account for that in my diet. It is a nutritional beverage. It's liquid bread, but I count it that way when I eat, right? And so that has helped me stay not obese. Because, oh my goodness, with beer and cheese, I could get so obese, and I'd probably be so fat and happy, and I wouldn't even care. But reality is I do want to stay healthy. I want to be around for my family for a long time. I want to be able to serve my community for a long time till God tells me I'm done.
All right, for the rest of the questions, just raise your hand and I'll come to you with the microphone, and we'll do it that way. And then for people who are watching, listening online, there's a a text number that you can text a question to if you have a question.
Oh, no pressure.
And we will read those off as well.
Thank you so much. So on the same line, the question here, tell me about the difference with wheat brewing versus your potato beer.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would be very happy to talk about that. So most beer is traditionally brewed with barley. There is some produced with wheat, or it's not always 100% wheat. Sometimes it's partly barley, partly wheat. That's pretty traditional stuff, especially taxes help form a lot of stuff. Again, big history that we're not going to get into. What's neat is before taxes and requirements of laws that required you to brew with barley or wheat and all that to call it beer, potatoes was one that people used. So it's actually traditional. It isn't something that we use a lot here, but I will tell the quick story of how I invented Idaho potato ale. You can use other things that ferment into alcohol. Think potato vodka, okay? They're a starch. The whole brewing process is that brewers make starch into sugar water. Yeast eats the sugar, we already said this, right? Burps CO2 and poops alcohol. That's fermentation, okay? Yep, it's again, the miracle of beer. It's fascinating. Hallelujah. I just have to say it. I have to say it. So anyway, I'm on deployment in the Middle East on my second and last deployment. I know that we're getting out. My husband and I got beat up. Like I told Tanya, she has a chance to fight me because I'm a disabled veteran. So it was like, okay, it's time to go do this. I feel the passion. I feel the calling. So I'm developing beers in my room in the Middle East. Probably not even legal. Didn't tell anyone other than my Navy guys, and they drank all of it, right? So here we are. We have months left, and I'm out of barley. I'm out of wheat. Like, what am I going to do? Like, we can't be dry in the Middle East. Like, I'm bringing joy here, right? And so I had the hops, I had the yeast, I needed the fermentables, right? So I walked my happy butt over to the Middle Eastern market across the street, looking for a starch that I could convert to sugar, and I saw potatoes, and the sweet little Idaho girl in me said, IPA, Idaho Potato Ale. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire, but it is one of our top-selling beers, and it's very balanced. The potatoes actually enhance the beer, which I discovered by accident in brewing in my room. Yeah.
All right, I get this one at least once a week, so I'm sure you probably get it too. Being a professing Christian, I'll get, how do you be a Christian while you're pushing alcohol on people?
So I kind of almost think that's a funny question since we just talked about the monks making beer. And they're a lot more reverent than I am. I'm still trying to learn from them on how to have more of a pure life, right? The reality is that, again, back in the day, and especially there in the reverence of it was part of their diet. It's part of that, bringing people together, not tearing them apart. But there is a very real thing in our society, especially in America, where we're like, ooh, let's make it more hops, more alcohol, more everything, right? Them, it's about moderation. And they will say, there's so many quotes out there and articles and everything about how it calms your temperament. I talk fast enough, guys. I drank a beer before I started this on purpose because I needed to take it down a notch, right? Beer can be so helpful and can clarify the mind and can do wonderful things. I also find that it's the most amazing vessel. The biggest reason I started my brewery is right here, especially as a Jesus freak. I find that when you put a beer in front of two people, they may not have anything in common. They may be complete, right and left, atheist and Christian, you name it, have complete differences, and they will find common ground when they have this powerful, amazing miracle in their hands. And so for me, I found that beer, for the most part, brought people together, didn't tear them apart. We're not taking shots, we're not chugging. It's a reverence, it's a community building thing. And so for me, I literally put my whole life into it because I believe in it that much. And I believe that crafting community, like we said, is the most important thing we can do, especially if you're a Christian. Does that answer your question? Yeah. However, if you do not drink beer and should abstain from alcohol, good for you. And we have root beer and we have NA beverages. And I think that there's so many wonderful options. Drink coffee. There's so many options to sit down and gather together. I just found that this one really broke a lot of boundaries. Yes, sir.
I have a series of technical questions for you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have a brewer now, so I don't brew as much anymore, so I'm going to try.
Okay, one thing, how do you treat your water? Where do you source your yeast? Do you use the same yeast for all of your Belgian products? And what is the beginning and ending temperature of your fermentations on your Belgians?
Oh my Lord, help me. Okay, you're probably gonna have to repeat those questions. I told you that I have like adult ADD, right? So let's start with the first one. How do we treat our water? Okay, I think one of the most amazing things, and we learned it everywhere in Europe, in Germany, in Belgium, in Ireland, everything, especially Chimay that does it from their well, right? The best way to be able to bring a legitimate Belgian style or a Czech Pilsner or any kind of style, an Irish stout, is to make sure that you emulate the water profile from that region. There is literally a water profile called Burton-on-Trent from England, which invented the pale ale and actually the IPA. And so that specific water profile will literally enhance the beer and bring you closer to what it is traditionally from that region. So for us, we actually, gosh, I wish I had a picture of it. It's massive. We have this huge filtration and system to strip the city water that we get. That's also inconsistent, by the way. And then we have wonderful things. There's something called brewing salts and things that you can add. So we literally do spend the time to make sure that we understand the style that we're making and try to emulate that exact style by stripping it and then adding in the specific salts to enhance that style and bring it as close to tradition as possible. So there's one. What was the second one?
The second one was, where do you source your yeast, and do you use the same yeast on all your Belgian products?
Okay. We use White Labs a lot out of San Diego, California. They're kind of the authority on teaching about brewer's yeast. Chris White is the owner's name. We've been to multiple craft brewers conferences where he has taught on yeast. He has a book called Yeast, and it's amazing. He and his whole company is extremely big on education. And so for me, I was very attracted to that company. There's some other ones called Y Yeast. There's now some other ones out there too that send me emails every 5 seconds to try to get me on board with them. But I have found that we really love the yeast that we found. So we source the original strain from them, but back to the miracle of beer, as long as you're really clean about it and you can actually train your yeast. At brewer school, when I was there at Siebel Institute, they specifically likened yeast to being a naughty child. If you over-discipline it, it will act out. If you under-discipline it, it will act out. So there is actually a very large finesse, science and art finesse to how you handle yeast. So we are able to use it for multiple generations. Some of the oldest breweries in the world have one strain that they use for everything, and it's usually people like Carlsberg is a great example, which is a Dutch brewery, and many Belgian ones as well. So we have a house ale yeast, we have a house lager yeast, and then we do have a Belgian strain that we specifically like to use, but I have used 3 Belgian strains because depending on the style, some of them are a lot more estery, like I said, like the clove and the banana, and some of them you don't want it to be that way. Like for instance, the darker ones, I prefer more of the dark sugar, dark fruit aspects, and if you're able to taste those today, you'll see what I'm talking about. There is a very large difference between those styles, so sometimes the best choice is to use a different yeast. So it just depends on the style. But no, we do not have like a house Belgian strain we use, which is why we usually only make them once a year, because to source the yeast is not cheap, which is another reason we reuse it. But it's also generation 2, 3, 4, 5, it's super happy. It's actually the best yield. It's really funny. The yeast, it's like they finally get going. They've had enough to drink, I guess, and they're happy. So, what was the last one?
I'll ask you a fun one.
Oh, we're moving on.
Do you use Brettanomyces in the same room that you use Cerevisiae?
That is actually an irrelevant question right now. I have said loudly, and I told my brewer it's a rule, and she agreed with me because she has great taste. I will not make a sour that is a kettle sour. I respect the breweries that do that. That means that they make it, they bring it down to temperature, they inoculate it real quick with some wild yeast or bacterias in order to make a quick sour. I have professed, and it's a standard I'm not straying from. So it's on TV, so now I really can't, right? Witnesses, they can look back at me saying this. I want to do it the Belgian way, which is that you make a base sour that is 6 months up to 2 years old. my goal is for 2 years, and we've been working on this for a little bit, so that you have a base and then you make other younger sours and blend it instead of just making it quick. So as of right now, that's irrelevant because we haven't used Brett. We're working with just natural sour strains that don't have Brett in them. I will say you have to be careful with Brett. There are people that very much misuse it, and it tastes disgusting. Back to that horse blanket thing, like, some people love it, not my jam. I don't want to bite into a horse blanket, but it's pretty amazing what people have done with science. That's just our conviction, is that we want to make legitimate barrel sours and let them naturally wild ferment and all that. And we are working on our strains right now for that, but Brett is not included. Doesn't mean it won't be when we get further along. That's more of a finishing thing that we would discuss. Cool? Cool. Man, we got a brewer in the audience. He knows about Brett. And he used the full word. I can't even pronounce it. Brettanomyces, right? Brettanomyces. Ugh.
Other questions? Besides coming into Old State Saloon and drinking your beer from Bear Island, what are the other ways that folks can support you and your business?
Honestly, every pint counts. I told you that we're debt-free. And I told you that there were some people that are disturbed that I'm here, and I've already got hate mail that they're not going to drink my beer anymore, which I just don't get. I'll talk about that at the conclusion. The reality is that it's gotten really hard. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there's rainbows and unicorns and stuff. I wish there was. That'd be really cool. Moving on. COVID hurt. COVID hurt a lot. And I knew when it happened. I remember someone close to me saying, it'll last a month or two. And I was like, no, this is a thing. There will be an accordion effect. We're in 2025? We're still in that accordion effect. And people can point fingers and blame each other and blame the last president and the current one and everything, but the reality is that we had a worldwide pandemic, and it was awful. And you can't shut down the world and not expect there to be an effect. And one of the effects was it was disheartening. Fortunately, I am a Christian. I believe in God. I believe that he called us to do this, to create community, and I'm going to do it till my dying breath. But I want to do it in wisdom. I want to love on people. But it is hard. It has made it so that, for instance, our costs have tripled, if not quadrupled. And I can't raise my prices that much. I can't charge you guys an $18 to $20 beer. First of all, that's wrong. I don't feel good about that. But second of all, and then people can't gather together because they can't afford it. They can't afford groceries. How can they afford beer if I do that, right? And I want to bring them together. That's the mission. But also, it's hard to make a quarter of what you made and try to hire people and train. And there's people that don't want to work. People learn to stay home. There's a lot of really crappy effects that happen because of not only COVID, but just the hate. Oh my goodness, we're so filled with hate, and I'm so sickened by it. My whole goal in beer is to spread hope. And, we have more competition than we ever had. It's gotten really hard. So the number one way that you could support our brewery and help us spread hope is to tell people about it, is to show up and belly up and drink a beer, is to help us spread hope. Amen. Beer is hope. I'm happy to declare that. I think the monks would agree there, Jen. Good with questions? Thank you.
I think that
leads right into my statement.
If you have anything else, you can sum it up. But I also want to apologize. I practiced your name so many times, and I still messed it up when I introduced it.
It's German. Of course I marry a guy who has a German last name. The purity of beer. I do want to say one last thing. Oh my gosh, if I could find it. Slide 1, 2, 3. Right here. I put it right in front of my face on purpose. Okay. The conclusion of the matter, which is something the wise man in Ecclesiastes likes to say. I did put this right here. It is good to eat, drink, and be merry. Ecclesiastes 8:15, one of my favorite verses. There's a lot of great verses, but that one I think has a lot of wisdom in it. Okay. My information's up there for anybody, whether they want to have a conversation because they're upset I'm here, or they're happy I'm here. If they want to have a conversation about God, if they want to have a conversation about beer, if they want to talk about blowing stuff up, whatever you guys want. Honestly, I am a busy person, but again, my mission is people. Yeah, I like beer, but my mission is people. And so that is the way to directly get a hold of me. I'm not so great at the social media. I heard there was a lot of hate towards our brand. I didn't know because I don't even look. I will delete anything like that. I don't need that spread, and not only in my business, but to other people. It just doesn't make us better people. So the conclusion of the matter of me is do I have time to tell a quick story?
Go for it, yeah.
There's something really cool that happened to me that last night, actually. And I was nervous about preparing for this talk. Like, there has been some people that have been really hateful, towards me for being here. And the way I saw it was, hey, like, I was invited to come talk about Idaho Craft Beer Month and the start of Holy Week about how awesome beer is and the miracle of it. So, of course, I was ecstatic to do that. And I just hate that there's hate on any side, by the way. And so I think we should be a little more careful about throwing hate around. This is why. I had a veteran friend of mine ask to have beer last night. And I find this not a coincidence. That's hard on me, by the way. And he wanted to talk about suicide. Give me a second. I have a heart and stuff. I know you're going to think I'm tough, and I am going to beat up Tony Harding, but broke my heart, man. And some of it is because of hate from other people. He works in law enforcement. The guy has been through some real crap. It's not my story to tell, so I'm not going to tell it, but he came to me asking for hope. He asked me what God thought about suicide. And that's why I'm crying on you, because I love this guy and I love people, and it breaks my heart that people would even go there, and that people would push people to go there. I condemn that. So I encouraged him the best I could. I told him I'd be praying for him. I did not sleep well last night because that's what I did. But I decided to be bold and invite him to church today. So I'm going to really say church to church because he went, and I just want to praise God because I didn't even mean to do this. This was not me. I got to be used for this, and that's why I'm just like, that. This is more joy than it is upset now. He went. I reached out to some men in the church that are part of a small community group that we're a part of. One of them being a veteran who has been through PTSD and disclosed that to us. And another one that I thought was a veteran, and so I wanted these guys to come help pray with him and introduce him to him because I want to help, but I'm not a counselor, and I'm blessed that I don't have that PTSD, but oh God, it's such a hard thing on my heart, and I want to help. And so I know how to connect people with resources, and it's something I think God has given me, and so that was my mission. And so I brought this guy to church today. We connected with him, and the guy that I thought was a veteran who isn't, praise God. He's a mental health professional, and he deals with veterans and PTSD. So can we get an amen and a hallelujah on that? So they connected today, and I'm going to follow up with them and stuff and have some more beers, and that's where my heart's at. And if people want to hate on me for that, fine. Because the reality is, hate doesn't win, hope does. Love conquers all, and that's what I wanted to say at the very end of this here is, guys, there's a lot of hate that comes towards this place, but towards everybody. Can we just stop fighting for a second and love each other and shit? Oh, sorry. That's the thing I do because I was Navy. I mean it though. Honestly, it's all bullshit if it's not love. It's all bullshit if it's not hope. Can we just for a second, I want to exhort those out there, which is a Christian term to encourage. Can we start spreading hope instead of hate? Whether it's coming in here or going out of here, stop it. Stop it. I want to punch you. Stop hating people. Let's sit down and have a beer. My information's on there. If you want to talk about stuff, if you need hope, if you need prayer, if you want to talk about you're upset that I'm here, fine. I'm not endorsing anything. I guarantee if Mark and I sat down, there's stuff we don't agree on, but you know what? Let's sit down and love and talk about it. Okay? This is a huge passion for me because I'm so sick of seeing people hate on each other. That's not what this is about. So let's spread love, okay? I encourage everybody, especially if you're a Christian. Don't you dare say you're a Christian if you're not going to spread love, if you're not going to spread hope. So, okay, can we transfer to that? Hallelujah. Happy Holy Week. Happy Idaho Craft Beer Month. Thank you for being here. I really hope I get to talk to some of you guys. I'm going to hang out for a little bit, but really, reach out if you need help, especially if you're struggling. We're here for you. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth.
And I need another beer. I'm going to go for a bigger one now, but I'm not doing the monk thing.